So today's video is a collaboration with Extremerate. Now, no money changed hands, no sketchy sponsorship dealings or anything like that, but I really want to show this to you because this is like incredible stuff. Like me being a gamer, you guys loving Xbox as well, I imagine. This is pretty cool and you should know about it. So have you ever wanted to change the look of your Xbox controller from like this, where it's like just a plain Jane like black controller, but like Microsoft with Xbox Design Labs wants to charge you like $80, sometimes even more, to swap certain things out? Well, what would you do if I told you you could just change the look of your controller for less than half that price? Like it would cost you almost next to nothing to do it. A little bit of prep work, and then after you do prep work, you're done for like ever. You literally can change your controller in 3 seconds, bro. Like I'll show you in real time. Ready? This is how hard it is. This is gonna be the it. Ready? Doing it again, right? This is the level of difficulty we're approaching. Again, right? To be dramatic, right? Like, in mere seconds, you can get it done. And so today, I'm gonna show you guys how to get that done, and it's gonna be really sick. So smack a like on this video because we're gonna be getting to the point right now. So the first thing you want to do is take your Xbox controller and you want to flip it over to the back. Now on the back here, you're going to notice that there's this screw. This is a very important screw, and the only way you get to it is by removing the default sticker that comes with it. So you want to make sure you take that off beforehand, and that will help make the process a lot faster. Now you're going to want to pop off the sides. Now this is going to be one of the more annoying parts. These little pieces can be extremely difficult to take off. So how you have to do it is basically you have to go to where the trigger is here, okay? And then you want to make sure that you're going to the point where the trigger is and you're sliding your pry tool in between here. Now it will take some doing, and I'm not even joking. I'll try to do it now to show you what I'm talking about, okay? So you take your pry tool, you put it in between here, right? Now be careful that you don't go too close to the farthest corner, because that's kind of the connection point and you don't want to damage that. But you put your pry tool in there and you just really work it. I like to use my thumb, right? And then I like to hold here. So as I'm prying, I'm holding and pulling at the same time to kind of give leverage. And again, you'll have to really work at this a little bit to get it to go, especially like on a brand new controller, because they really come very tightly buttoned up. So I can't stress that it will take some doing. As you see, I'm struggling with it here, but it will come off eventually. Now in my case, I had to use a screwdriver. So what I did was I took the screwdriver, I put it in between the grooves here, and then I just pushed this way. Don't go towards the controller, go away from it, and that will pop this off. Now, the reason I had to use a screwdriver, a flathead to be specific, don't get a very thick one, get a little small one like I have here. Mine's really rusty and dirty and old because I use it for working, but again, it is one of those things. Now, in terms of why, well, if you look at the pry tool, it's not very strong and it does tend to bend a lot, and that really makes it very difficult to do what you have to do sometimes. So, as you see, my pry tool basically crapped out. I could have gotten another one out of the bag, but I chose not to. But again, this is more important to show you because this will very likely happen to you, because Xbox controllers almost have a Marvel Avengers level grip on them. So I can't stress, you will need to use some sort of pry tool, and the best way to do it is with a flathead screwdriver. But again, don't be too aggressive. Now we're going to locate our two types of screwdrivers, and just kind of to explain it, I know most people already know this. The cross shape is obviously a Phillips head type screwdriver, and then we have the star shape, which is a T6 style screwdriver. Okay, so what we are basically doing is, for the sake of this video and keeping it simple, this we're going to call the star shape and then the cross shape. So anytime I'm talking about cross and star, I am just talking about the different types of screwdrivers. So for this next portion, you want to grab the star shape screwdriver. And what you are going to do is, in all four corners here, which is why we had to remove that sticker, we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove the screw in here. We're going to remove the silver screw in the corner here. We're going to go down to the bottom and we're going to remove that bottom screw there. There's another bottom screw here, and then in another corner there's a screw to be removed there as well. Now once we've removed all the screws, we can then go ahead and turn the controller back over. Now from this position we then obviously take the top piece here and we're just going to remove this, and voila, this exposes a lot of what we have here. Now you can do something a little bit more fancy than just, you know, what I'm going to show you here today. If you buy the little replaceable thumbsticks, this is the easiest part. So what you can do is you can just hold the corner here. I like to hold the corner here and just pull them off. They come off very simple, very easily, and then you just take them out. And they almost like glide off with how easy it is. Some are harder to take off than others, but not by a terrible bunch. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this down now. We're going to pick this up. We're going to open up our little case here, which is cool that Extremerate gives you a little case to hold all your thumbsticks, so we'll have a place to put the old ones. And then we're going to take out the new chrome gold pieces that we want to apply. And then now what I really love about Extremerate when you buy the thumbstick, you know, replaceable thumbsticks anyway, is that you have different textures that you can pick. So you can kind of go old PS2 era with these. You can kind of go like nice grippy, like really tough tactile feeling. I really like that one. So this is the one I'm going to go with personally. Dropped it. That's always fun. But you guys see what I'm saying. Like, so what we're going to do with this is we're just going to simply slide it on top like that, right? Put it in. And then just find where we took them out, line them up, right? And we're going to put it in. Now if it switches up, that's okay. You can just flip it back down and then just line it up and push it in, and there you go. As you see, now we've got chrome gold on one side. Now I've got to pick the other one up and do the same thing, but the principle is literally exactly the same thing. So we want to take our tiny little magnets now, and what we want to do with these is going to be like a little stack of magnets. You also want to locate these ultra tiny little black screws. Do not know if you'll be able to see that, but it's a really, really tiny black screw. And you're going to peel apart the magnets, and you're going to thread the black screw inside of the magnet here. Now this will probably be next to impossible to see, but what you want to do with the seating of the screw into the magnet is find the front side from the back side. Now the back side is very easy to be spotted because it's very smooth and flush. There's nothing happening. Where again, if you flip it over to the front side has kind of like a little, it's like recessed in more. So it's retracted. So that's the part that I would say you want to obviously put the screw inside of versus it looks, just think of it like a flush, flat, cut-off surface versus something that is sunken in. You're looking for the sunken inside, and that's the front side to where the screws go into. Now, I'm not a guy with particularly large fingers, but one thing to note is with these screws, they can be a little finicky as far as, threading them. So what you'll have to do, I recommend you use the cross-type screwdriver and you just drive the screws into where it's going to be threaded at. I think that'll help a lot more than just trying to do it by hand. And then once you do that, then you want to get the Facemag cover, and then you want to find where the crosses are, literally just in the corners and in the center, and then you're going to drop your screws on your magnet screws anyway into those areas. Next, we want to remove the controller from its housing altogether. So what we're going to do is just kind of give it a little bit of a wiggle and a push in either direction until we get the backing to come off here. Okay, which isn't very hard to do, and we separate the two. So now they're two separate pieces, as you can clearly see here, right? We set that off to the side, and this is the piece that we want. Next, you're going to locate the silver piece that looks like a little BB pellet type thing, right? It's going to be the larger of the pieces that you had included, tiny but still the larger, and you want to make sure that this time around we're going to find the back end here, right, this little hole, and we're going to take the male end and we're going to put it into the female end on the back of our controller here, like so. So that just kind of sits on top like that, if you can see that, right? And we're going to hold it in place with our finger here. Then we're going to take our tiny screws, right? We have tiny little screws. So what we're going to do, our fingers in place holding it there, we're going to drop our tiny little screw in the back. We're going to get our trusty dusty screwdriver, and we're going to start screwing it in to make sure that everything gets buttoned up. So just to kind of recap those steps there, you want the male end to the female end on the controller, drop that in, hold it with your finger so that you can screw in the back piece of the little screw that we have, tiny little silver screws, not the tiny black ones, and we're just going to screw them in best we can to get it where we got to get it. Once you have that done, then we put the controller kind of back together. We're going to take the back piece here and we're just going to slide it in the way we had it before. Now, an important thing to keep an eye on is the battery prong. You want to make sure that you're sliding the prongs for the battery through the holes where they're supposed to be. Otherwise, you're going to create a ton of problems for yourself later. So just keep an eye on that kind of thing. And then make sure that you're situating your controller back into its chassis the way that it goes. Once you put it back in its battery place, this is the way it's supposed to be, by lining up your prongs here and snapping everything back in place. This is pretty much what you should have. Now, a little special note here, kind of annoying for my unit, this little metal piece that sits in between the buttons here, for my end, no matter what I do, my screw won't go in all the way. So if this happens to you, this also happened to me, to where like you can just hear it rattling around if you give the controller a shake. Now, naturally, you don't really want to be shaking around your controller, but you can hear that it does tend to rattle, which is annoying. But it is in there. It's just, for whatever reason, this particular screw maybe, I don't know. It's just having its issues, so I guess I'll let it have its moment. I don't know, but that's something to kind of note there. Now we're going to get the tiny little nut that looks like a screw but isn't. And this will be very easy to spot because it's the only one that looks like a screw but isn't. And basically the base is really long, and then at the top there's a hole so that you can put a screw in. And what we're going to do with that is, now that we have our back on, we're going to go into the corner here, and we're just going to drop this into that corner, right? And then from there we're going to do our kind of like our screwing in. So as you can clearly see, we have the nuts here and the corners, and the reason we have to put those screw looking nuts in the corners here is because, well, this is simply put the deepest portion, and it would be a lot harder for the regular ones to reach. But once you put the long ones in the corner, from there, then we go back to the little tiny silver ones that look like BB pellets that don't have as long as a base, and then we seat those in the remaining corners. So after we get all that done, we want to, again, just make sure once we drop the tiny little ones that look like BB pellets into these little corners, then we flip them over and we go back to those same old silver screws, and then we just screw it in there. Now you want to be real careful when you put these little corner pieces in, because this is where you can find yourself having, well, to do it over again. So I don't know if you saw a couple seconds ago I did like this and something fell out. Well, that was the corner piece, because instead of going from the back, I actually did it from the corner, because that's just how I'm used to doing it. Or maybe that was wrong altogether. Maybe that was just not the right thing to do. But for all sakes and purposes for the video, just kind of clear that up. You drop the little long piece into the corner, and then you make sure you flip it over to the back, and that's where you drop your screws in the corner here, which frankly that is actually how I was supposed to do it. I just kind of forgot, getting a little turned around. So again, can't stress that enough. Don't get turned around like I did. It's a common mistake, could be isolated and unique only to me, but something I thought I should note just in case other people make a similar mistake. So now that we got that cleared up, we're gonna go into the corner here at the end. Don't know if you can see that. There's a little screw hole here, and there's a little screw hole here. You are going to find the black screws with the star shape, right? These are called T6 screws. You're gonna find that, and it's gonna be the thicker T6 screw, not the smaller one. So the thicker star-shaped screw, you're gonna find that, and you are going to thread that, and then that's what you are going to put into the corners here and here. Now as you're screwing this in, if your controller is anything like mine, This will probably feel a lot like you're breaking your controller because of how tough and how thick the plastic is and how kind of hard it is to get this screw to kind of go in. There's a bit of resistance. It feels like you're carving out new pieces of plastic for the screw to go into. But this is okay. As you can clearly see, we aren't damaging the product or anything like that. And we're just getting it nice and tight in there, and there you go. So no damage or anything like that. So even if it gives you a little resistance, don't freak out. Obviously don't be Wreck-It Ralph with it and like try to do something crazy, but this is just fine. So once that's all done, this is pretty much where the magic happens. We start putting our controller back together. So those side pieces that we took off before, we're gonna line those up. We're gonna start snapping those into place however we can. Mine's giving me a little bit more of a difficulty because for whatever reason this part is raised a little bit more. So I'm going to have to go at it at a different angle. So I'm going to go about it here. And hopefully I can get it now. No, this part's just giving me a hard time. There we go. Finally, snapped in place. I'm not kidding when I tell you these newer Xbox controllers have this issue where they're like really hard to get apart. I think that's probably intentional, but either way, I'm still going to do my own modification and customization and things like that. And yeah, just snapping it together, putting it back together like so, okay. And then of course, always check your triggers and stuff like that to make sure you didn't accidentally block something. That happens sometimes. If you're like a little bit more inexperienced with this, you might have something like you put the case back together wrong. It should present itself fairly immediately, but for all intents and purposes, that's kind of what I'd say there. Now, all the hard work we did kind of pays off because we get our little shell here and we drop it over the top like so, and we line it up. It snaps in place beautifully, feels amazing, looks great, but we're not done yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to find that little pack that came with these little ridges inside of them, and we're going to take out our little black ridges. So what I'm going to do is put the controller down, find our little black ridges, right? I'm going to take those out. And all you're going to do for this next piece is line up these little black ridges around your thumbsticks, right? Just these little ring-looking things, right? The little black ridges. And we're going to line them up and press them into place so that we finish off our controller, right? And once we do that, I got one more to go. Of course, the last one is always the most finicky because that's just how these things play out. Doubly true if you're recording and you're doing a YouTube video. And there we go. Now the controller is fully finished. We've got our gold on the thumbsticks if you decided to make that alteration. Very clean, very cool, very sleek, right? And then, of course, we've got the black. And then, of course, from there you just button it back up, grab your little back piece, and you're done. So there you have it, guys. Changing your controller, super easy. Again, just because why not? I mean, why not? It feels really good to do. Oh, this feels incredible. Like, look at that. Look at it. It's so freaking cool. Like, honestly, like, it's looking pretty sick. Like, and to be able to do this with multiple faceplates in the matter of mere seconds. Mere seconds I'm doing this. Look at this. Look at this. Let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, got snagged, 5, 6, 7. That was my longest. That was my longest. I have 7 seconds and I knocked off the little ridge there, but let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. 3 seconds. 3 seconds you can change a faceplate. You know what I mean? It's so instantaneous. And that for me is huge because like this changes the game literally. And I don't know, I wanted to bring it to you guys. I'm like a kid in a candy store with this kind of stuff, and so I figured maybe you guys would be too. So that being said, I want to thank you guys so much for watching the #1 brand in honesty, and until the next video, I'll see you guys later.